Well, this is the final episode of ETF Battles Season 1. Welcome to the show. I'm DeLegge, and all I want to do is party. Is it too soon to start having some fun? Because I sure hope not. I want to thank our fans. I want to thank our judges. I want to thank our content partners for a truly tremendous first season. And I also want to thank me for coming up, not just with the idea of ETF Battles, but also having enough chutzpah to actually follow through. And let that be a lesson to you kids at home. It's not just the idea, it's also the execution. And if you marry both, good things happen. So tell us what you've enjoyed most about the 2020 season 1. Hit us up in our Twitter feed at ETFguide or in the comments section below. I want to hear from you guys. What were your favorite battle moments? What were your favorite whatever from each episode of season 1? Let us know what your thoughts are. After today's battle, by the way, I'm going to let our judges weigh in and tell us what their thoughts are about season 1. So stay tuned for that. If you're new to this show, a warm welcome. Please be sure to subscribe to ETFguide TV. And remember, this is where we give you carefully crafted content like ETF Battles and other programming that you will not get anywhere else. So without further ado, today's battle is between two tech-focused ETFs. We've got dueling rivals. It's the Invesco NASDAQ 100 ETF, as ticker symbol QQQ, versus the Vanguard Information Technology ETF. That's ticker symbol VGT. Now, I've been dreaming about this battle, and what do you know? My dreams have come true because we're finally doing it. And helping us to judge today's skirmish is Mike Akins at ETF Action. We've got Dave Kreinces with us from ETF Portfolio Management. Judges, great to see you and welcome to your final episode of season 1.
Hey guys.
Hey, how's it going? Happy holidays, everybody.
So the 4 battle categories are cost, exposure, strategy. We've got performance, and then we got our mystery battle category where you guys get to pick that one factor or multiple factors that are crucial to today's matchup. I've got my battle scorecard ready. And as you can see, the great and late Kenny Rogers, who said know when to hold them, know when to fold them, is on my battle scorecard. So Kenny and I will be keeping score of today's battle. So we're going to go through each one of these one at a time. You got 30 seconds. You can also opt for a split decision if you feel neither ETF has an advantage over the other. The first category is cost, and we're going to begin with Mike. You've got 30 seconds. Go.
Awesome. Well, both these are big tech. NASDAQ is a little bit different in the exposure. We'll get to that in a second. It's not pure technology from a classification perspective, but by and large, you're getting mega cap companies in both these strategies. One is 20 basis points, that's QQQ, and the Vanguard product, VGT, is 10 basis points. So I think anytime you want to have a matchup with a Vanguard product, it's kind of like bringing a knife to a gunfight. So got to give the hat tip to VGT.
All right, that's a great start. What about you, Dave? How do you see it in terms of cost? Which of these ETFs wins the battle?
Well, on cost, as Mike explained, the expense ratio for the NASDAQ 100 QQQ is 0.2%, which is double the 0.1% for Infotech VGT. However, QQQ is more diversified, and the extra cost is not material. So I'll give the win on cost to QQQ because on a diversification adjusted basis, you get more strategic diversification for almost the same cost.
The next battle category is the exposure strategy. And we're going to stick with you, Dave. How do you see it in terms of the battle between these two ETFs?
Well, for exposure, these two ETFs are both loaded up on Apple and Microsoft, but VGT is a tech sector fund, while QQQ is a diversified U.S. equity ETF with heavy tech exposure. VGT does have more holdings, but QQQ is more diversified. And the broader net of exposure in the Qs may help you catch the next Amazon or Tesla, both of which you miss in VGT. So I'll give the win on exposure to QQQ.
All right, let's shift to Mike. How do you see it in terms of exposure strategy? Do you agree with Dave's take on this particular category?
No, not really. I think exposure is...
Can you be a little bit more frank?
I think when you think about exposure, you want the ability to understand what you're getting exposure to. And VGT is very, very clear. It's giving you exposure to the technology sector as as defined by S&P and MSCI and the global industry classification standards. Whereas NASDAQ is giving you exposure to companies, the largest 100 companies that are non-financial companies listed on the NASDAQ exchange. So if you happen to list on a different exchange, you're not going to be part of the strategy. Does not mean that QQQs is not chock full of fantastic companies, but from an exposure standpoint, it's much easier to understand VGT. I can tactically use it within a portfolio. QQQ is a little bit more of a hodgepodge, and it's just designed around an index. It's been a fantastic run for the Qs, but that can change. The other thing I'd say is I think of QQQ as expanded tech. It's the FANG names. It's got communication services in it. It's got Amazon and discretionary. So I'm going to give it to VGT as a tactical vehicle to get exposure to something that I understand. And that's where I'm staying with this.
Okay. And it's also worth mentioning that QQQ also has a little sliver of exposure to the biotechnology sector. So that's also part of it. Let's shift now to performance. So Mike, you're still up. Who wins the battle between these two ETFs in terms of performance?
I'm going to give it a coin flip, believe it or not. I know you love that, Ron. If you look at performance in these two products over 10 years, so I'll give you how extraordinary this is. If you look at the current companies inside of QQ overlap with the current companies inside of VGT, there's 37 names of the exact same and 47% of the portfolio in common. Despite there being 50% of the portfolio that's different, the return over 10 years for VGT and QQQ as of last night is within 50 basis points of one another. I think that's more happenstance than anything else, but to that extent, I've got to give it a coin flip.
All right. That's a split decision on performance. Dave, how do you see it between these two ETFs? Who wins the battle?
Over the past decade through December 9th, 2020, the NASDAQ 100 returned 5 times your money. And as Mike explained, it was almost exactly the same return as VGT. The two ETFs also have similar volatility. Back in the crash of '08, they both fell almost 43%. And in 2018, another rough year, both were almost flat. You could call the performance a split decision, but it's time for ETF Battle Wildcards. And first, let me remind viewers, we play these battles with wildcards because ETF PM doesn't trade many of these ETFs, and we want viewers to know why. Now, the 5 times return from both QQQ and VGT was double the S&P return, but no match for the top 3 times ETFs. Soxel and Teckle, leveraged ETFs for semiconductors and technology, both returned over 30 times your money. And the more broadly diversified NASDAQ 100 3 times, TQQQ, delivered a mind-blowing 52 times. This means TQQQ just returned 20 times the S&P and 10 times VGT. It's even more impressive to note that at the September peak in 2020, TQQQ's trailing 10.5-year return since inception surpassed 100 times your money. So TQQQ is by far the top performing ETF of the past decade. And at ETF PM, we say TQQQ is the GOAT, the greatest of all time ETF. Michael Jordan and LeBron James are both big investors. And once they see the stats, they should agree TQQQ is the undisputed GOAT.
Okay. How did I know we were going to get a wild card? And TQQQ, it's hard to disagree with that performance. So who do you pick between QQQ and VGT? QQQ. Or is it your wild card? You want to just do a split decision on those two?
Well, I'll give the win for this battle performance to QQQ in the absence of the GOAT.
Okay, very good. Now we're going to shift to the mystery battle category. Dave, you're still up. What is your mystery battle category and who wins it?
Well, Ron, I bet you can guess my mystery category.
Performance weighting.
And it has to be position weighting because it's unfair to compare core portfolio holdings to satellite positions. In this battle, we have a core growth fund in QQQ against a sector ETF in VGT. And since QQQ can be a much bigger part of our client portfolios, the position size win goes to QQQ.
All right. What about Mike? do you agree with that assessment? What is your take on the mystery battle category? Tell us what yours is and who wins it.
At ETF Action, we focus on portfolio construction. And we believe that portfolio construction done with ETFs can be extremely precision built, utilizing the ETF structure and the transparency of the ETF structure. But you have to understand the methodology of the strategy to get that precision. If I want access to companies inside of QQQ, there are a number of different ways I can do it through strategies that I know specifically are going to stay within guardrails that I can manage within my portfolio construction. So my mystery category is this idea of portfolio ETFs as portfolio construction tools. And I'd much rather utilize VGT as a portfolio construction tool than QQQ.
Okay, got you down for VGT. Now we shift to your overall battle winner. This is where each of our judges get to recap their take on this battle. And Mike, you're still up. Who's your overall battle winner?
So for all of the reasons that Dave didn't mention, I'm going to pick VGT.
Okay. Very good. That's a nice summary. And what about you, Dave? What is your overall battle winner between these two ETFs? It better not be VGT.
Well, Ron,
that's not how you previously voted.
Well, Ron, to recap this ETF battle nail biter, QQQ and VGT were
Was it a nail biter?
QQQ and VGT were both legendary all-stars back in their day. But change is constant, and these old legends look obsolete next to the top leveraged ETFs. Over the past decade, the Wildcard ETF, NASDAQ 100 3 times, just delivered 20 times the S&P and 10 times VGT. A 10-year ETF return of 52 times your money was unfathomable before leveraged ETFs and crypto. Investing will never be the same. The data clearly shows that leveraged ETFs and cryptocurrencies are the future of investing for now. And you can read all about it in the second edition of the Investable Benchmarks book coming out this month, or check out the IBU podcast. But just know that for this battle, I give the win to QQQ. And in my humble opinion, TQQQ is the undisputed goatee.
All right. Well, my battle scorecard is pretty obvious, and you guys were polar opposites. You agreed on absolutely nothing with regard to this particular battle. For Dave, it was a clean sweep of QQQ, and then, of course, the wild card, as he mentioned, TQQQQ. Is that 4 Qs? I've lost track. Or is it 3 Qs? And then, of course, and then for Mike, it was VGT, which he explained and made some solid counter arguments. And I guess the more things that change, the more stay the same. And this was another split decision. But I want to ask our judges before we take off and finalize this final episode of season 1. I want to ask our judges what they enjoyed most about season 1 of ETF Battles. Maybe it was a specific moment, maybe it was a specific battle or something else. We're going to start with Mike.
Yeah, so I think, Ron, one, congratulations on a great show and a great season. Thanks for letting me be a part of it. I've really enjoyed it. I think of this show and having fun with you and Dave on a regular basis. The best thing that sticks out to me is that ETFs really are the top of the line tools when it comes to investing. And I think what's great about that is that not every tool is right for every investor. And as Dave and I will show every week almost, it depends on what you're searching for, what your goals and objectives are, that defines the right strategy. So just my favorite part of the show is this idea of understanding the ETF market. And at ETF Action, we like to say what best aligns with your investment ideology, your macro assumptions, your client needs. And I think it's that your is the key word here. And that's what the ETF market empowers investors to do. It allows them to succeed at what they want, what their needs are, what their risks are. And I think every time we get on this show, it reinforces that fact to me. So kudos to you for putting this together. It's been a great time.
Well, amen. And I appreciate that. And we can't do it without your analysis, without your valuable insights. What about you, Dave? what from season one have you enjoyed most about ETF Battles?
Well, Ron, before I give you my favorite moment this season, let me say thank you to you, our other judges, and Mike, and especially our viewers and fans. An extra big thanks to everyone giving us props in the comments, Mary May, YOLO Boy, and everyone. Thank you all for your kind words. And my favorite moment this season was Ron's reaction when we had our first contested battle, QQQ versus SPY in September. Ron got so excited about a contested split decision. But back when ETF Battles first started, Ron said he hates split decisions. And then he went on to call split decisions in almost half the battles this year. So to commemorate our first year of ETF Battles, I dub Ron Split Decision DeLegge, and present him with this collage of ETF PM's most egregious split decisions of 2020. This data proves that underneath Ron's tough guy exterior, he's really just a nice guy that doesn't want to see an ETF get hurt. So thank you, Ron, for a great first season.
Well, I appreciate that. Those are some kind words. And the viewers have really been tremendous. I think, my moments, I just want to say a couple of things in parting. First of all, let's not forget there's over 2,000 US listed ETFs in the marketplace. I mean, that's a lot of choices to be making. And the funds that make it onto this program, it's not by accident. These are the ETFs that we believe are worth analyzing and discussing with the purpose of helping you to make informed investment decisions that help you to improve your bottom line. So we're not just coming up randomly with ETF ticker symbols. That's the first thing. The other thing that I want to point out is that you'll notice that each of the battle categories is focused on the stuff that matters. It's the cost, it's the exposure strategy, it's the portfolio weighting, it's the yield and the performance. And when you put all these things together, and it's a multiplicity too of other factors, these are the things that you at home should be analyzing before you invest in ETFs or any fund products. And then I also want to mention that I've watched our judges disagree so many times on this show, but still maintain a very high level of professionalism and respect. And each of you have made solid arguments and even better counter arguments. I'm just blown away at the high caliber of insight and research that you guys are doing. So kudos to you guys with giving us your perspective, giving us your due diligence, giving us your personality. And I think we've all appreciated and enjoyed that in season one. I'm really grateful to you guys, and our audience, I know, agrees with that. So judges, we're going to see you in 2021 for season two. Be safe, be healthy, and stay liquid.
Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy holidays.
Well, that does it for this round of ETF Battles. Tell us what you enjoyed most about season one. Which ETF battles would you like to see in season two? Let us know. Hit us up in the comment section below in our YouTube comment section. Be sure to like this video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to ETFguide TV. You can also find us on Twitter. @ETFguide is our handle. I'm Ron DeLegge. Thanks for watching. And until next time, watch the battle before you invest.